we're going to start off by talking about something called carbohydrates. And we've been studying organic compounds, compounds that contain carbon. And organic compounds are built from these things called monomers. Monomer is just a molecule that can be repeated over and over again to form a polymer. And monomers join together via the dehydration synthesis, or as I've taught you in class, hydrolysis, which means water splitting. There are 4 different types of macromolecules. There are carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids. So today we're going to talk about carbohydrates. Let's go ahead and come back to this. Okay, carbohydrates. So here we are with carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are important for our body because they provide us with short-term energy. So we eat foods like breads and pastas, pastries and potatoes and sweets, and carbohydrates are in all kinds of things. These pictures show foods that are really high in carbohydrates, and there's several different types of carbohydrates. There's in health class, you hear your health teacher refer to them as simple versus complex carbohydrates. And simple carbohydrates are carbohydrates that you could find in things like sweets and candy. And these are the things that you think of when you think of the taste, anything that tastes sweet to you is a monosaccharide or is a simple carbohydrate. And then other things like breads and pastas and pastries and potatoes, those things contain what we call polysaccharides, which are these long giant chains of sugars. And actually, since these molecules are longer and they're bigger and they contain more bonds, they contain more energy than the sugar. However, sugar is more readily available for us to use. But because it doesn't contain as much energy, it runs out faster. This is why a little kid, it goes out on Halloween, trick-or-treating, gets a lot of candy, eats a ton of candy that night, gets on a sugar high. And then when the sugar is no longer available to the body, then that little one hits the wall, right? Becomes very crabby, has a blood sugar issue, probably falls asleep. So carbohydrates are a quick energy source for us, and it's what our body most commonly uses for energy. Now, what are the monomers of carbohydrates? Well, carbohydrates let's go ahead and freeze this. Okay. All right. Carbohydrates are built out of these things called monomers. Okay. And the prefix mono means single, and saccharide, anytime that you see that word right there, saccharide, it means sugar. Okay. This is a representation of a single sugar, and I made this representation because, for example, glucose contains 5 carbons in the ring and an oxygen atom, just like the ones that we built. So each one of these points represents a carbon, with the exception of this one, which represents oxygen. And so for a disaccharide, I just represented it with 2 of these combined with a bond. Okay? So polymers are made up of many small repeating molecular units, which are known as monomers. So in this case, carbohydrates are made of many monosaccharides that are chained together to form polysaccharides. So this is what a polysaccharide would look like. A polysaccharide would just look like a long chain of these shapes all joined together. And where could you find a polysaccharides in your diet? On the previous page, I showed you a picture of a whole bunch of these, and we have all these breads, and these sweets are more monosaccharides and disaccharides, but these breads and these pastries, it looks like these things are going to be full of polysaccharides, which are molecules that look like this. They're also called complex carbohydrates. So in health class, you may hear them referred to as complex carbohydrates. So carbohydrates is just one of the 4 types of macromolecules that we've talked about in this class, and its main function is for short-term energy. Your body stores short-term energy this way. You can store them in muscles in the form of glycogen, and uses energy from breaking the bonds of these molecules so that you can do your day-to-day activities, and so your cells can carry out their metabolic processes or the chemical reactions that are necessary for your body to operate normally.